Hi everyone. In this video we'll be looking at the transcription process, of course in a simplified manner. So first things first, the first question is, what is transcription? So this is the transfer of genetic information that is from DNA to RNA. Remember we had talked about genes that are carried in the DNA, and they're the ones responsible for the different phenotypic traits or characteristics that we see in all organisms, and they also facilitate the proper functioning of the body. And of course it involves the synthesis of mRNA from a DNA template. So the process of transcription occurs in 3 major steps. So these steps are just to help us understand, or it's a simplified version of what happens. So it can be categorized into 3. We have 3 processes. So we have the initiation, elongation, and initiation. Okay, so the first part of transcription is usually the initiation stage. So the initiation stage is important because it helps a lot when trying to regulate, for example, enzymes or hormones that are responsible or take part in various processes in the body, such as insulin. Yeah, so for the genes, the gene usually contains different parts, and this part that is called the promoter. So in most cases during transcription, the transcription factors are the ones that initiate the transcription process. So they initiate this by binding to the promoter region together with the RNA polymerase, as we can see from the diagram here. So here we have the promoter region, and of course now this is the DNA strand. It's still the double helix structure. So of course now the transcriptional factors, which are usually several, and yeah, we can they're usually several, and of course now the DNA polymerase will bind to the double helix structure. That is before the initiation of the transcription process. So once they bind to this, then of course now an initiation complex will be formed, and this will now cause the DNA to unwind. So in this process around 10 to 20 base pairs will be exposed, and now the synthesis of RNA transcript will begin. But together now this is called the transcription complex. So next we have the elongation phase. So in the elongation phase, basically it's like the name suggests. So in this process is where the RNA polymerase will add nucleotides, and remember it's the RNA nucleotides, to the 3' end of the DNA. As you can see in this structure, still just like in the DNA synthesis mechanism, the direction is definitely towards the 5 to 3' end. So in this case you can see that it's this is the RNA that is being synthesized, and yeah, of course the nucleotides are being added, and they are complementary to those of the DNA template. And maybe one thing we need to note is that in RNA, instead of thymine, which is one of the nucleotides that is in DNA, it's replaced by uracil. So if you want to find out more about the differences between DNA and RNA, you can look at a video which I have addressed that. So in this case, still the synthesis of mRNA will be based on the complementarity. Remember, the DNA is the template, and of course now it's one that carries the genes. So the synthesis of RNA will still be based on complementarity of the nucleotides. Yeah, so as we can see in this diagram here, where we have A, yeah, so where we have T, it's A will be added, and then yeah, and so forth. Yeah, so the last process is now the termination phase, and this one now marks the end of the transcription process. So in the termination phase, we usually have special sequences called the terminator sequences that usually signal the termination process of the DNA. So once the RNA polymerase reaches the termination sequence, it dissociates from the RNA and the transcription process stops. As you can see from the diagram here we have our RNA. So this is the termination sequence. So of course the RNA polymerase has recognized it, and it's then released, or it dissociates now from the DNA structure, and of course now we have our full RNA here, and it's actually a messenger RNA which has to go now what we call processing before now the final product undergoes translation. So thank you for watching the video. If you have any question or comments, don't hesitate to note them down in the comments section, and yeah, you can watch my other videos, and please subscribe, and thank you for your time. Have a good day.